It feels more duplicatable to people. But anyway, whatever your way you're going to show your business, when you meet with someone or your team, be ready to go before you're supposed to be ready to go. Okay, you'll hear us talk about a lot about reds and whites in that aspect. Reds are going to drive the deal. They're tough to coach. I know I'm a red, but basically, if you're late, if it's a 1 o'clock appointment and you're pulling your stuff out of your briefcase at 1 o'clock, you already lost the red. Very quick decision makers. Whites don't make decisions so quickly. Blues and whites are slow, reds and yellows are fast. And we're going to talk a lot about the colors as we go through this. You'll find things on the colors in both the Hero's Journey as well as the coaching module. Very important in the coaching module. Your job is to adjust to the color of the person that you're talking to. And you can find your color by going to lazynetworkercolorcode.com. This isn't a cute little thing like DISC or the Briggs-Myers stuff, which evaluates behavior. This evaluates true motive. And when you know when someone's true motive is and you're talking a color that they understand, communication improves. That's how you improve relationships. You don't improve relationships because you want to, because it's all about relationships. You improve them because you improve how you communicate. And we'll talk more about that as we grow together. But basically, I'll say it a lot on the first few webcasts, show up ahead of time, and at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever time your appointment was, or if you're doing a biz op meeting in your house or in a hotel, be ready to go 5 minutes ahead of time at the most. It should really be 15 or 20. And the real pro is going to get their work lined up like I have for today. These are some clients and prospects for my online business that I'm talking to today. And I've been through their folders. I know what I want to accomplish at the meeting, and I'm ready to go, and they're in order. So I did that last night. That's the point. Pros get ready the night before. Amateurs are scrambling, and they show as amateurs, and you're going to lose the professional builders. So this is skills Q&A. Let me get this. This is being recorded for you. We'll have this posted. Quick agenda. Very quick how to use the site, where to find stuff, and what to do first. And then success is really simple. Guts leads to duplication, which leads to improved SQ. It's all about the hero's journey and the 5 C's, and inside the 5 C's, it's really all about the 5th C. The technology and all that stuff is great, but it really gets down to we use these skills and technology to connect on a deeper level with people, and it's all about the 5th C, and we're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to go over a couple of stats and support. Do possibilities know more about success in MLM than MLMers? I could certainly make that case pretty strongly, but we're going to fix that for you. The bottom line is you can't work smarter, not harder, if you don't know this. So let's get busy. Normally on these calls, it's about 5 to 10 minutes of me, and then we open the lines so they're open for a total of 90 minutes. We can role play. We can do a lot of different things. You'll have some of it's just straight questions, but a lot of times we'll role play stuff, which should accelerate the learning curve because you get to observe, and that's what you really want to become. You see, when you're first learning these skills, you're trying to remember them. What do I say? When do I say this? And so forth. But with the essential element in success in all ventures, practice, okay? I was doing network marketing actively through 2010. And in 2010, just like 2009, 8, 7, 6, 5, all the way back into the mid-90s, I practiced every single day. In the shower, in the car, the 1-minute presentation, frame firelighters, rapport builders, most people skill, so that when opportunities showed up, I was there. And what I mean by there is there's you, there's the suspect, possibility, and prospect. What I mean by you being there is you're the third person in the conversation. You're the observer of both yourself and of the prospect. So the skills tend to work better if you use them. So learn, practice, apply, observe, improve. Use the Go90Grow community and individual videos to ask questions on, as well as this call. You can follow different Go90Grow members if you want. We're in there on a daily basis. Open lines, so use the dial-in number or plug your mic into your computer so we can have a conversation with you. Like I said, a lot of role playing will accelerate the learning curve. And feedback bites. What do I mean by feedback bites? Well, if you don't plug a headset in, and most of you, if you have Apple, you can, the same thing that you listen to your iTunes on or whatever, you can plug into your computer. That will cut back on there won't be any feedback then. So there's a little exception next week. I'm going to go into a little bit of a lecture mode because you have the most productive recruiting time of the year coming up on two levels. One, sometime next week, somebody will say to a distributor, hey, see me after the holidays, and they'll hear it 2 or 3 times and they're going to stop. But think about it. Is there ever a time of the year where you're more acutely aware of how little time and money you have? What are you offering people? More time and more money. So it's really great because people are more sensitive to the fact that they can't spend the money they'd like to spend on people that they know. They don't have the time to do all the things they want to do. You're offering those two things, which means when they're more aware of those things, or those things are more painful or more pressing or more disappointing or more frustrating for them, they're better candidates. Same person, just more aware of their situation. Secondly, all these amateur network marketers, they'll do a few things next week, and then it's Thanksgiving, and then the week after that, in general, better than 90% of the network marketing sales force in the United States, in the world actually, they'll stop working. So first of all, you have a more aware on the individual's part of how little time and money they have, and they promised themselves it was going to be different this year, and it's not. So they're primed. And secondly, 90+% of your competition has quit until January 2nd or 3rd. And of course, they really won't get back to work until the 15th. So I've always looked at it as I got a 16-week window, a 6-week window with no competition, and the prospects, possibilities, and suspects are primed. And I'm going to show you how to get names and appointments for every social interaction that you're in next week. Okay, so duplication is a byproduct of education. It is actually a description, duplication of what happened. How does it happen? For good, bad, or indifferent? It depends on the level of education. Now, there's 3 types of learners out there. There's those that hear, hey, Johnny, don't touch the stove. It's hot, it'll burn you. So Johnny never touches the stove. Then they're seeing, this is Johnny sees his sister burn her hand on the stove and she cries and she's got a bandage on for days. Johnny doesn't touch the stove. And then there's tactile or experiential learning. And that's Johnny puts his hand on the stove and he burns his hand. Get involved on these calls in tactile learning. Don't be shy. We're going to put you on the spot, but you're in a place where we're trying to help you improve. So we'll role play with you and reverse roles, be a lot of fun. So tactile plus is the Go90Grow way. What will duplicate? A system based on skills vitalized by people who teach those skills hands-on. So you learn what to do and then you do it with your people. When my career started to evolve and I gained some notoriety, people would contact me and say, hey, I'm in between deals. What are you doing? Will you sponsor me? Or I'd contact somebody and they'd say, oh yeah, I heard about you. You're the lazy networker. Wow, this is really exciting, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be working with me for 2 or 3 weeks, and they'd say, I thought you were going to, when I signed up with you, I thought you were going to train me. They didn't know that they were getting trained. Because I was really training them on 3 levels. 1, what to do. 2, how to do it. But most importantly, how to get more effective and efficient duplication. You see, the people would come in and all they heard me do was make calls. And they'd say, well, what about objections? What about this? So I would send them a training and say, you listen to that training. What are you doing tonight at 7? And they'd say nothing or whatever. I'd say, okay, call in this number and use this code when you call in, and we'll discuss it then. And of course, that might happen 8 or 10 times during the day. Well, what I wasn't doing was letting my ego get involved and telling this person how to overcome objections, which if you do it right, you never have to overcome them. But you know, how to answer questions, this, that, whatever. And of course, they go listen to the training, or they would. Now, if they didn't listen to the training, well, then you saved a lot of time because they weren't going to listen to you either. They just want to pretend they're working the business. On the other hand, what would happen is people would get on the call. And what did they hear when they got on the call? Well, they just heard me making calls, because I know any situation that they asked about, if I'm making calls, it's going to come up. But what I was really training them to do is when they grow, don't let your ego get involved. Don't train people individually. All great network marketers, big check earners, and the kind that you want to be, there's plenty of big check earners that are working 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week after 10 years. That's not why I got involved in this business. We're in the time leverage business, which means as your income grows, your timeline stays static, and that space in between, that's time leverage, where you're earning money off the efforts of other people because you took the time to train them hands-on and taught your people to train hands-on. So they're building effective teams without you. And fundamentally, what you don't want is to start training and managing, because as soon as you start training and managing, your leaders will start training and managing. In other words, you never have to worry about duplication. You will get duplication. There's no question about it. So if you keep saying, I'm not getting any duplication, guess what your group's going to be saying? I don't get any duplication. So if you take time out to train individuals, your team is going to copy that. It's more comfortable, it's easier to do, blah, 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 ego massage, or we think we're being really helpful. But if you do that and your top 5 or 6 people do that and their top 2 or 3 people do that, then you have the 18 or 20 people that were driving the deal doing what? They're talking to people that are already in the business and telling them how to do the business rather than show them. Remember these 3 words: show and tell. Show and tell. You keep that in your head, you'll get rich. The best way to improve the team is to improve yourself. How? Learn, practice, apply. Okay. And after each situation, ask yourself, what did I do right? What could I improve? And how do you get that? By being the observer. And then you practice some more, ask questions here. You continue to improve. Nothing, 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 nothing will motivate your team more than them seeing you get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, a little bit better. I'll never forget, we were doing this big hotel meeting, and Davine was pretty new in the business. She got her first or second, I think she got a couple of checks. That company paid in $300 increments. And so she did the product presentation, and she did an okay job, but she knew that she could have done better, and she was pissed afterwards. And I said, well, what are you going to do? You're going to run and hide, or do you want to get better? And she said, I want to get better. I said, well, I'm going to tell you 2 things I know. 1, you didn't practice enough out loud. You practiced in your head. That doesn't count. If you're going to be speaking out loud, practice out loud. So when I say I practiced every day, in the shower, at the gym while I was lifting, I'm repeating the 1-minute presentation over and over and over again, right? In an hour, you can get it in 40 or 50 times. So you get better at it. It starts to come out like your name. So she practiced and practiced and practiced. Now, she had a nice little group. I think it was around 20 or 30 people, and she's getting checks every other week or so for $300. And we have the hotel meeting again a month later, and she did the products, and anybody that was there the month before could see that she improved, and her team took off after that because she sent a message. that she was getting better. She was improving herself, and that's the best way to improve your team. So set yourself up for success and use this call to accelerate improving. And the way that you do that is learn, practice, go apply, and write down things afterwards. You know, they said this, and what should I do here, and this and that. So we can help you accelerate, and by helping you accelerate the learning curve, everybody else grows, which is really cool. So your experience becomes a shortcut to success for your reps. Your experience, that means you're doing it. So use the community, this call, get feedback, and then go put it in play. So Davine developed this phrase that it takes guts to succeed. And we're not talking about, you know, the boring motivational speeches. After 1990, I'm going to say 98, because I want to be on the conservative side here. After 1998, I never did a motivational speech. You know, I used to do them before that because that's what everybody else did. It's stupidity. Motivation means motive in action. And there's nothing you can say that's going to get John or Sally or Bob or Ted to get their motive in action. Does that stuff feel good? Yeah, but it's like a warm bath. You know, it sounds great when you hear one of these great motivational speakers, but what really changes? Nothing. Okay? When you're a little down, or you're getting answering machine after answering machine, I mean, do you really think about what, you know, Les Brown or Tony Robbins or somebody said, and all of a sudden you hang in there and charge forward and changes everything? It doesn't change anything. Okay, so it's not about the courage thing. If you teach the people the skills hands-on, they're going to get more yeses, and because they get more yeses and it's rejection-free, they're going to do it more often. And the more often they do it, the better they get. And the better they get, the more often they do it. You know, and you don't have to motivate anybody, which is really cool. So what's she talking about with guts? Go use the skills. G-U-T-S. Go use the skills. Maybe you don't think you know them all yet. It doesn't matter. There's 7 billion people on the planet. Go use the skills. Most importantly, pay attention. You'll notice a few weeks in, pay attention everywhere. Pay attention. You know, my wife used to say to me, how do you always know what's going to happen with people? How do you always know? How do you always know? You're like a genius. And it's not that at all. And just average intelligence. I got a learning disability. But the one thing that I do is I pay attention. Emerson said, what you are, shout so loud I can barely hear what you say. Watch people's behaviors. That's who they really are. And one of the things that you'll notice on these calls is there's two types of people that ask questions. So there's two types of questions. Some people will ask, what if they say this, and what if they say that? What if you're paying attention, you'll know they are not G-U-T-S-ing. They're not going out and using the skills. They're projecting, and when we project and we have fear, okay, the fear gets bigger, and we're looking for the perfect situation. Then you're going to notice other people are asking experiential questions, like Dawn Anderson was on here every week a year and a half ago. Every week she had questions. And the reason we took her questions every week is they were always about what happened and what she did and what she could have done better, what she did right and what she could have done better. Those are the 9 words that are essential to build an authentic positive mental attitude, and not a bumper sticker quotes of wonderful phrases from Jim Rohn and, you know, Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and all that, you know, that just sort of stay on who we are. The way you actually improve is be positive as you assess something. What did I do right? So you got involved in a conversation and it was a mess. Okay. Well, what you did right was you move forward. You were assertive. You started the conversation. You made an attempt to use the skills. And what could you improve? Well, practice, you know, memorization, relaxing a little bit. You know, let's face it, the skill's mother is repetition. Repetition's the mother of skill. Where does skill come from? Well, it comes from applied knowledge. The knowledge isn't going to apply itself. So there's two types of questions. Some people ask, well, what if questions? And the other people ask experiential questions. Anybody want to take a guess into which people are growing their paycheck? Okay. All right. So duplication is a byproduct of education. Let's keep our eye on the prize. Enrolling people, without your help. In other words, teams that are building teams without you. And those people, are they well educated? No, they're not. You've got to be the expert. The best way to learn it is to teach it. Okay. So don't make the perfect situation. Those are the people who ask questions. What if this? What if that? What if this? What if they say this? What if they say this? What if they say this? Okay. The best way to learn it is to teach it. And the best way to put yourself in a position to teach it is to do it. Okay. So don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. On the other hand, if you don't aim at perfection, you'll get complacent. We all do once in a while. We all get a little sloppy. We're entrepreneurs by nature, so we're going to look for shortcuts, and we all get a little off track. So this call helps you get a checkup from the neck up. But the main thing is the best way to learn it is to teach it hands-on. So let people listen to you make calls. Don't let new people make calls on their own. You might as well feed them to the sharks. They don't know how to answer questions. They don't know anything about the plan. They don't know that the plan is irrelevant to a person joining. They don't know anything about the product, the company, or the industry, and they certainly haven't been taught. Particularly, they've been mistaught if they've been on conference calls, because that's going to tell them about results. And all great influencers focus on behaviors, not results. Okay, so a lot to learn here. Apparently, it's going to feel that way, but the truth is, it's really just human nature. Okay, my law of duplication is that it is a system based on skills, vitalized by people who teach those skills hands-on. So you've got to go use them. It'll give you compassion and empathy for the fear that other people have, because you're going to be a little, oh, am I doing it the right way? What should I say? Is this really going to work for me? But repetition helps you relax and become, you, suspect, possibility, or prospect, okay? And you become the observer, and you start to relax, and all of a sudden you realize, that Italian bullock on Kauai is right. It's just human nature, and you're going to regain your common sense. And once you regain your common sense, you're going to be able to navigate through these conversations the right way. So make these three terms the currency of your group. The first is a suspect. That's a name and a number, and you want to keep stuffing suspects into the top of the funnel. The next is a possibility. That's a suspect who you contacted and they said, yeah, sure, I'll take a look at it. You have nothing. Train your brain and train your team. With a possibility, you have nothing. We're all human beings, and if we don't know any better, we're going to develop a little expectation. Most people that say, yeah, sure, send me a link, I'll look at it, they're not going to look at it. They just want to get off the phone. Why? Because they haven't discovered a reason why they should look at it. You're just doing a commercial, and everybody knows nobody likes sales pitches that they didn't ask to hear. So they just, yeah, sure, send me a link. That's it. And that's it. That's the last they think of it. And so we call them back. They haven't looked at it, and we get a disappointment. Unmet expectations lead to disappointments. Collective disappointments lead to discouragement. Everybody knows that discouragement's the handmaiden of quitting. And while they might stay on auto ship for another month or two, they're done. And that's because we didn't do our job and teach them the difference between a possibility and a prospect. A prospect, this is someone who's volunteered their reason for looking at it, and you're going to learn how to do that in ABCHJ1, also known as the possibility presents. Now, posture, you hear all the time about posture on conference calls and online, and we got the cookie, they need us more than we need them, they're working the 45-year plan, they're going to be dead flat broke or still working at age 65. It's all BS. That is not posture, because it sounds great when you're in a room with other people and you're feeling good and cocky about your company, but everybody knows, if they're honest, that when they talk to somebody else that's honest, that as soon as you get away from that energy and a prospect says, is this one of those pyramid things, all that posture vanishes. What is posture, really? Well, the bottom line is we want to help you improve your SQ, and I'll define that for you. But your true posture is knowing the names skills, right? So that when you enroll people, you're going to be able to extract. This is important to know. Just out in the last year from AT&T and Verizon. Verizon says 301, AT&T says 303. Let's agree it's 300, okay? The average person has 300 contacts in their phone. 300. There's 300 names and numbers right there. So in today's world, it's even easier to build a list of 400 or 500 people. So what's going to give you real posture? We got the cookie. They need us more than we need them. They're going to end up flat broke, dead, or still working if they're too dumb to do network marketing. Or 4 distributors that you're working with, that you have 400 names each. And every week, on behalf of each one of those 4 distributors, you're driving 8 to 10 suspect to possibility to prospect. So there's 20 to 30 decisions that you're collecting every week, and there is 2,000 names in the funnel. Which one's going to give you real posture? You see, when you have more names coming in every week than you can possibly process, and you know how to drive suspects to possibilities to prospects, and you're doing it with Mo, Larry, June, and Joanne every week, and driving 4 or 5 people into the pipeline. So down there at the bottom of the funnel where that arrow is pointing, that's the pipeline, meaning they're ready to make a decision. Well, guess what happens? You have posture. You really don't care if they join, because if they all joined, you couldn't handle it. And when that's in your heart, it's in every fiber of your being, and you know that there's an endless supply of people coming into the top of the funnel, and you have the skills to help your people. You got posture, and you don't need to pump yourself up. So what is sponsoring quotient? SQ is sponsoring quotient. It's the hero's journey plus engagement and sequence. So you're going to have about 10 to 12 options, okay? The best option is if you can meet with someone for a 10-minute coffee, and you can't always do that. You got time constraints, so maybe you do it on a screen share. Second best one is presenting and sorting with the 1-minute presentation. A website is the lowest. Here's why. When you engage with someone, the higher sponsoring quotient is when you have engagement and control over the sequence that they see things. Okay, so let's see if some people are paying attention. Let's try Bill Perkins. Hi, Bill Perkins. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Where do you live, man?
Wyoming.
Okay. So the only state that I've never been to. So build a group and invite me out there, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. When you send someone to a website, right, or you send them a video, do you have engagement with them?
No.
Do you have control over the sequence that they see things in?
No.
So your sponsoring quotient is going to be the lowest there.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, if you and your upline are sitting with someone, do you have engagement?
Yes.
Do you have control over the sequence?
Yes.
That they see things, yeah. So it's real simple. The closer you are, start where you are, okay, and just improve a little bit. Thank you, Bill. Great job. So Bill gets it. So I'm doing my job, or Bill's paying attention, or both. But the bottom line is, if you have control over the sequence that they see things and you are engaged with them face to face, your sponsoring quotient is going to be higher. Look, it's an imperfect world. Remember, don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. On the other hand, if you don't aim at perfection you're going to get complacent. Your results aren't going to be as good. So you got 10 plus options here to actually execute step 2 and 3, which are generally done together. But basically, what you want to do is improve the percentage of people that you sponsor that you show the business to. That's your sponsoring quotient. For example, if Bill shows it to 10 people and sponsors 1, his sponsoring quotient is 10%. Then he gets a little bit better, and every 10 times he shows the business to somebody, he sponsors 3. His sponsoring quotient would then be 30%. So we want to get you up to 50 to 60%, and then eventually you can improve that to 80 to 100%. You know, you'll have weeks where you sponsor everybody you show it to, then every once in a while you'll miss 1 or 2. So really it's about progress, not perfection, and that has a lot to do with the elevating where you are. So right now anybody can send anybody to a website. So your sponsoring quotient is going to be the lowest there. What does that mean? Well, that would mean that Ben Derringer would have to send a lot more people, maybe 5 times as many people to a website as I would have to sitting with someone in a coffee shop, because I'm going to sponsor a higher percentage. Now, in the real world, you're going to do a little bit of all of this. And it's not going to take long to figure out where the money really is. And you want to aim for that one all the time. Are you always going to be able to do it? Hell no. You know, maybe Beth Black, you know, has someone in her downline and that she's built a list with, and they live in Ohio. Well, Beth can't be there. But the new technologies change that, because you can all get Zoom and you can see each other on the screen, and it's going to be a lot better than sending them to a website. So start at your current level and improve. What are you comfortable with here? So improve. Okay, so every movie, every book, every story, and every metaphor in Scripture all have within it what Joseph Campbell helped us discover, the hero's journey. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I want to spend all my time on what's behind it. Okay, but if you think about it, there's your suspect at the top, and by the way, that was you, and it's really a call to adventure, or what's known in the hero journey motif as the herald. Something heralds our hero, our reluctant hero in most cases, because in most stories the hero initially refuses the call. Okay, but anyway, this call to adventure is to step into a life that they don't know. And you see down there on the just cross the threshold, helper and mentor, and they're going to have challenges and temptations, and you need to know when to be a helper and when to be a mentor. Okay, and eventually they go through revelation. They realize they're not trying network marketing anymore. They can actually do it without you, and this transforms them into a leader, and they return to their tribe, their family, their little subculture with what's known as the boon or the gift, which in this case would be resources to improve the quality of the lives of themselves and people around them. But it all comes down to the 5 C's. So the first C is consider. When we herald, in other words, when we use a frame firelighter, we're asking them to consider, right? A call to adventure. When they say they will, then you want to use HJ2, Hero Journey 2, to confirm their integrity, right? And then HJ3, we use that when before we show them the business. Okay, so they make a commitment to give us a yes, no, or not, maybe. That's HJ3. And then at HJ4, then what we want to see happen is them start the cycle all over again. They cross the threshold and they commence the journey with us. But it all gets down to one word: collaborate. That's all it is. So this is either a technique that you're going to use to manipulate people with a hidden agenda, or you're going to get it and you're going to get rich. and I mean a lot more than money, and that is you're actually collaborating with another human being, because once you learn HJ1 and it becomes this wonderful transparent dialogue with another human being that has hopes and has had damages and hurts and victories and so forth, and you are actually collaborating with them. So it's all about the fifth C. If you come from the heart here and have transparent conversations with people, the response will change tremendously from what you're used to. They'll sense it, that you actually care about their hopes and dreams. You're not telling them you do, you actually do. And how do you get in that space? Folks, we have the honor and privilege of collaborating with other human beings to help them find their bliss in life, to find and follow their bliss, okay? The problem that we all face is that a person cannot have a thing until they believe they can acquire it. And so this gives them fear of stepping into the unknown. And Al, our non-check casher, is going to paint pictures of people that make $50,000 and $100,000 a month. It's so beyond their consciousness. And, you know, I remember I got a check one time from Market America. My check the previous week was $2,100, and then I got a check the next week for $3,300. And I went to the bank and I listen to this story very carefully. So I go to the bank, and the $2,100 check came, and I was out of town. So I got home on Friday. This is a $2,100 check, and I'm looking at this thing and I couldn't believe it. And then on Monday, a check shows up for $3,300. $3,300. So I'm looking at these two checks, right? $5,400. And I was off the week before. So I go to the bank and I put the checks in the bank. And Tuesday I call the bank. Did those checks clear? Wednesday I call the bank. Did those checks clear? Even though I knew I had earned the money, I still didn't believe it. So you want to talk to them at the level of their belief level. And how do you find this out at HJ1? Maybe all that they can actually believe is $600 a week or $1,200 a month or whatever. Talk to them at that, because if they tell you what they want more of and less of out of their life, they will believe it. And since they can't have it until they believe it's possible, guess what? Anything more than that is going to create fear of the unknown. So begin with the end in mind. Collaborate with others. This hero journey selling system works day in and day out, and it elates your soul, it raises their spirit, it raises your spirit if you come from this space. Success is service, period. So you want to be of service to another human being as they perceive the world and the possibilities for themselves. If you begin there, because, you know, I got to the point, you know, fast forward 4 or 5 months later, and, you know, when I got a check for $2,100 or $2,400, I go, I could do better than that. And so it went from me not believing what I was holding into my hand and knowing I could do better. And it's the same with everybody. It just matters where, it doesn't matter where they are. What matters is that you're talking to them at that level, you're collaborating with them, and as their confidence and trust in you goes up, eventually it transforms into confidence in themselves, and then there's no limits, okay? So we sent a survey to 10,000 people. I know some of you saw this on the webcast. Folks, they know it's marketing. They know they don't know how. They want skills and support. 3.4% think the planned product company has anything to do with their success. Remember, this survey was given to people who either had failed in network marketing, weren't in, but may reconsider it, or people who were considering network marketing but never done it. What does this mean? This means that possibilities know more about network marketing than network marketers. Why do I say that? Well, go to a BizOp meeting and all they talk about is the planned product company. That's it, okay? Folks, it's been around for 50, 60 years now. They know it's marketing and they know something else. Our reluctant hero knows what? They know they don't know how to market themselves successfully. Period. So you can share with them how you're going to do that, and they affirm to you or confirm to you that they understand that you're going to not only be there to help them, but exactly what they have to do without a lot of detail, right? Detail will kill you. They're in, okay? Now, this is another piece of our survey. Having experienced people show me hands-on what to say with actual prospects would improve my chances of success dramatically. This went out to 10,000 network marketers. 95.5% said true, 2.2% said false, and 2.2% only wimps need someone to hold their hand. So this is what you can discern from this. This is important, okay? It's kind of fun in a way. This is how you recruit people from other companies, because I'm going to tell you right now, their uplines aren't making calls with them to suspects. They're saying, get some people on the phone to make 3 ways. Invite them to the meeting. Here's how you invite. So when I called people up and they were in another deal, I'd say, wow, you're in network marketing too? That's fantastic. I am a big fan of people in network marketing. I root for all companies. What company are you with? I'm with XYZ. What do you like best about it? And they tell you what they like best about it. Say, well, you know, I love making friends with other people in network marketing. And why don't we check back with each other in about 30 days? If I find anything that's helping me, I'll share it with you, and let's sort of become fans and supporters of one another, even though we're in different deals. You never know. I might end up in your downline. You might have my downline. We may end up in a different company, different downline at some point. Who knows where it's going to go? Does that make sense, Joe? Yeah. Well, let me ask you one question, Joe, before we get off the phone. I'm curious how other teams work. Now, when you enrolled and when you enroll people, does your upline make calls with them like every day to their list, or do they do it on their own? Oh, we do it on our own, or they do it on our own. My upline doesn't make calls with me. Interesting. And how do you feel about that? Do you like that? Just accept it as normal, or what's the story? And they'll tell you, say, great, listen, I'm going to send you a skill that I came across. Now, there's no upsell on this. It's not from my company. And you can grab that skill, how to be a great storyteller, out of the resource area and send them, say, hey, I found this way to explain network marketing, explain the business. I got to tell you, it's working awesome for me. I'll give you a call in about 30 days. And I hope your check goes up. I hope you hit pin levels, and I know you hope the same for me. So make a friend with them. And I'm telling you right now, they're already in your business if their upline's not making calls with them. Why do I say that? Because 95% of the people believe that are in network marketing, having experienced people help me hands-on with what to say with actual prospects improves my chances of success. And you're going to get them, and we'll show you how later. Now, we ran the same survey about 4 years earlier. And look at this, 89% wanted to be shown. Now it's 96%. So the best way to learn what to do is to get clear, detailed, step-by-step directions and do it. Do it hands-on with support from one person who's doing it successfully. And 62%, 61% said do it with 3 or more people that are doing it successfully. What does that tell you? People want to be part of a team. And between this slide and the last slide, you've just learned how to recruit people from other companies. Make a friend. I always used to tell people this, let's not have a urinating contest about why my company's better than yours and yours is better than mine. Let's just say there's a lot of great companies in the industry, and we're lucky enough to be with 2 of them. See, when you tell them why your plan is better, okay, when they blow out of their deal, and they will if somebody's not helping them hands-on, you're the last person they're going to come to, because they gotta hear I told you so. But when you try to be their friend and support them, and you know what, if you give them a couple of skills and they go on and be successful, the universe is going to reward you anyway. This is how we were able to get people that were disenchanted and discontent where they were, but felt defensive about it at first. We disarmed their defensiveness, and what do? We made a friend. We tried to help them with no expectation of reciprocity. I would say 1/3 of the people that I sponsored came in this way. A third of them for myself and other people. It's like, and that's with no effort, literally, and no focus on it. It's just because people would call about it. Hey, I'd love to hear your pitch. Well, who are you with and what do you love about it? I just love meeting people in network marketing, right? Okay, so 89 a few years ago, now up to 96% want to be shown hands-on. If you offer tactile proof, that reluctant hero answers the call and becomes willing to step into the unknown with you. So I get back with them a month later. How's it going? Yada, yada. I say, you know what, Harry? I'm actually going to be making some three-way calls with a friend of mine. He's in my downline, but we've become friends. Would you like to listen in on see what we do? Maybe you can pick up a little tip or a trick for yourself. Yeah, sure. And they listen in and they see the camaraderie and the teamwork, and they see the last thing you do before you get off the phone is schedule the next time. And say, and so when you're done, say, is that how your team works, Harry? What do people want? They want to be part of something bigger. They want to. This one shows you clearly that they want to be part of a team. Why? Well, why would 27% pick one person doing this successfully, but 62% pick three to hear the same thing? They want to be a part of something bigger. So you let them plug into your stuff, okay? So we're your support system. The calls are additional support, not lots of lecture and support modes after today. I'm going to do a little bit of lecturing next week. We'll get 45 minutes in today of Q&A, but most weeks it'll be about 80 minutes, which is enough, okay, of me. Anyway, as you master the skills, questions arise. We can make easy adjustments for you. All this stuff is posted. Ask questions right under the videos. Okay, we're in there every day. And of course, you can listen to all this stuff on your smartphones too. The best bet with questions is in the members area. Okay, with thousands of members and lots of questions, if you don't get an answer within 24 hours, please ask it again and email go90grow@hawaii.r.com. We're really proud that nothing slips through the cracks, but even though there's a bunch of us in there on a regular basis, we're going to make a mistake or two, and your question's important. So if you don't have an answer within 24 hours, ask it again in the members area and email us, okay? It's important that we get it right. So the scripts thing, a lot of people say, don't you have scripts? Don't you have all this in one place? That's being lazy. Folks, prospects don't have scripts. Lots of new members ask for scripts. Again, prospects don't have scripts. Experientially is best. Learn the principles so that you can dialogue the scripts with people. They're all exactly the same, and they're all different. And when that makes sense to you, you'll love it. You want to build your quiver so you can pick the correct arrow. Be the observer, not a reciter. And it'll quickly be, be a little mechanical at first, but it'll change. People have different dreams and different fears. Learn to raise the reward potential, the prospect does this, and learn to reduce the risk. You do this by reassuring our reluctant hero, and that's one of the videos in the Hero Journey skill set. Go 90 Grow is a way to create confidence. Do the work, and you'll be able to dialogue rather than work off a script. We have this stuff in bits and pieces so that you put it together, because then when you put it together, you own it. Now, there's a couple of rocket reviews in there, but every single prospect is a reluctant hero, and this transparent method creates comfort for them. They believe that you can help them because it's true. There's something about the ring of truth that's it's loud and it's clear. You're having an honest, transparent conversation with them about their core values. It's called respect. The single biggest differentiator with the Don Andersons of the world, who is now in the top 0.1%, Alice Chu, who's in the top 0.1%, Ann Feinstein built a little group of 80,000. I'm going to tell you what they all did. They all practiced. and practiced and practiced and practiced, and they worked in front of their people. So I just want to see if I should have this one more thing in here. Isn't that odd? Let me see if I can dig this out for you quickly. I'll just show you here. And sometimes you'll hear it's in the resources or there's more training, so I just want to show you in your members area. When it opens up, it's going to look like this, but there's one with 3 dots. Just hit those magic, those are what we call the magic dots. Just hit those. So when we say the lounge or whatever, what we mean are Go 90 Grow Alliances. Here's the resources, and here's the bonus material. So if you put your cursor over here, Think and Grow Rich will drop down. The webinar replays are broken into the 3 categories: Think and Grow Rich, skills like this one, and digital solutions. The resources is a really big area for you. And right here, these are the skills that I explained to you that I would, that people, these are the skills. These are all skills that you can email to your teammates or prospects or whatever. Okay, and then other things that you need in here when it says the resources are here, but a lot of people have a trouble locating these, so these are the skills, like what goes through the prospect's head, also the 3-step plan. That'll open right up for you. And you can grab that by clicking in here 3 times. Boom, there you go. Okay, we'll stop that. And then you could just email that to someone, right? You can just drop that link right in there and they'll have it, which is kind of cool. Very good way to prospect. Give people skills, give them the skills. Okay, all right, so, all right, let's open this up for Q&A. Let me just give you 2 more things, okay? If you really want to become wealthy, we're your coaches, not your friends. You want a friend, buy a dog. You won't love all the ways that I communicate or Davine, but you're going to love the results 90 days from now. Actually, 20 days from now, if you go to work, you'll start getting more yeses. Okay, so number of reach outs, which is the number of calls, number of pitches. Okay, so these are 2 things on each skills call. We're going to ask you for 2 numbers: the number of reach outs you're going to make and the number of $15 million presentations you're going to make. Folks, you've got to stop making calls. You've got to understand that you're making a $15 million presentation. So let's get that right. See, I stopped making calls and I started making $15 million presentations. So we're going to challenge you on every one of these skills calls. You're going to type 2 numbers in. One number is how many reach outs you're going to make, which could be calls, and how many $15 million presentations you're going to make. Every time you talk to somebody, it's a $15 million presentation. Let me prove it to you. Okay, so I give, we'll say, Jim Hatcher a call, and that's a reach out. He answers the phone. When I talk to him, that is a $15 million presentation. If you can't get excited about a $15 million presentation, you need to sell your stuff and go home. I never got excited about making calls, but once I realized everyone was a $15 million presentation, it was unbelievable. So let me explain what happens. To build a group that's doing a couple $100,000, $200,000-300,000 a month in volume, that's not a big deal in network marketing. It's a good job. It's not the greatest job in the world. Okay, it's not. Doesn't require a tremendous amount of talent. You got to be consistent about 8 to 12 hours a week. So Jim decides he's going to do it, and Jim and I do it, and we build a group that's doing, we'll say, 250,000 a month in volume. Okay, so I built a line in Zango, for example, that was doing 290,000 a month within 9 months. It's not that big a deal. Okay, once you understand what I've just been over. And I know it takes some time to apply it, but basically here's what happens. So at 250,000, that's 3 million in volume a year. In 10 years, that's 30 million in volume. That 30 million in volume, most companies, regardless of business volume and percentages and that, they all pay basically the same thing. Let me tell you something, folks. All pay plans are exactly the same in this way. Producers get paid, non-producers don't get paid. So Jim and I build a $250,000 a month organization. That's $3 million a year. That's 30 million over 10 years. And since companies pay about 50% back, that's 15 million in commissions that have been created. So I don't make calls, I make $15 million presentations, and so do you. So type in the box how many reach outs you're going to make and how many $15 million presentations you're going to make. Those two numbers, you type them in now. Jason. 20 and 100. Good job, Mike S. So 150 reach outs and 22 $15 million presentations. Wes is getting on the phone. Jason, 20 is not a good number. I don't know what the number means. Two numbers. How many reach outs? How many $15 million presentations? Wendy's got 5 and 1. And you're going to talk to the right person about 16, 17% of the time. So 5 and 1 is possible. Now here's what's important. You must hit both numbers. So let's take let's take 15 and 5. So Beth's got 15 and 5. Now I know from experience that she's probably not going to talk to 5 people with 15 reach outs. She's probably going to talk to 3. Some days she will talk to 5. But let's say she's made 15 dials and she's talked to 3 people. Okay? That means she keeps dialing the phone. You must hit both numbers. Focus on the behavior, not the results. Make notes with yourself. You know, you talked to 4 people and you didn't get any appointments. You should have some questions here. Okay? So now let's say on the other hand, Beth makes 11 dials and it's a good list and she's catching people at the right time, and Beth has talked to 5 people after 11 dials. That's a great day, right? So Beth has to keep going until she hits both numbers. Make this promise to yourself that you're going to hit both numbers, and make sure you hit both numbers. And now I'm going to give you something that'll create wealth in your mind beyond your comprehension. Always end with a positive. Always end with a positive. Always end with a positive. So maybe my numbers were 20 and 4, and I've made 20 calls and I've talked to 3 people. I talked 21, 22, 23, 24, and then I talked to the next person. So that's 4, but it was a no. Keep going. And then on the 32nd dial, boom, I get a yeah, I'd love to see it. This is what I want more of, a less of. If you end on a positive, it's the only thing your subconscious is going to remember. And you want to train your brain so that you know that every time you make calls, it always ends well. It creates this incredible power, and I'll tell you more about that later. But let's open this up for questions. This is a really nice number, 30 and 5 by Gene. That's a good number. Okay.
Can you explain it again, Marky, for Danny?
Say it again.
Can you explain it again?
Explain what, the whole thing?
No, the 2 numbers. How many you're going to contact?
Yeah. Yeah, how many reach outs? The number of reach outs. So I'm going to pick up my phone and I'm going to dial Joe or Fred or Bob. That's a reach out. That's the first number. The second number are people that you talk to. Made a $15 million presentation. It went Dixie. Made 5 or 6 more calls. So reach out to the number of dials you're going to make, and $15 million presentations. Those are people that you talk to. And if you really want to train your brain to be successful and never have to work on your attitude again, always end with a victory. Always end with a victory. You must hit both numbers because you want to train your brain that you do what you say you're going to do. So I would pick low numbers and hit them, and then exercise the privilege of going the extra mile, but always end with a positive. I remember this one day I ran into a streak. Ugh, it was ugly. So I decided to go the extra mile, and I think my numbers were, I think they were usually my numbers were 30 and 5. So I got 5, and I said, I'm going the extra mile. I'm feeling cocky today. And I must have talked to 6 people in a row that it was just not well. Kept going. And I still remember that day because I did end on a victory. And I remember that was the last tumbler in the key to the vault. So always end on a victory. Always end on a victory. Per day. Yeah, 30 and 5 is good. Here's how I came up with that number, or how I come up with these numbers. Many years ago, AT&T put out some numbers that when we're calling people, the average hit rate of actually reaching the people you're trying to call. In other words, if I'm trying to call Fred and I get his wife Joan and Fred's not home, well, that doesn't count. That's not a reach out. AT&T says now in today's world 16% of the time. So Dave and I charted twice a little over 5,000 calls of inexperienced people to veterans making good-sized checks. And it was uncanny how out of those 10,000 calls, it came out to almost exactly 16%. It was amazing. It was amazing. So I've read it and I've done it twice. And in my charting my own calls with people that I was making calls for, as well as my own personal calls, personal recruiting, which I always had someone when I could listen to me. Anytime you're doing anything alone, you're wasting your time. Don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. As your group grows, it gets a lot easier to always have at least one person on the phone with you with initial calls. Most of the time, once I was 6 months in, I'd have 20 or 30 people listening in because I'm training 30 people at once, and they hear, oh, Market's just as many answering machines. Oh, Market's just as many husbands that want to know, who's calling my wife? What's this about? You know, the gatekeeper, right? He's watching the Bruins drinking beer and smoking dope, but he's going to protect his wife. Whatever. Anyway, got to have some fun with this thing. But fundamentally, you know, it turned out that I knew out of 10 dials I was going to talk to 1 or 2 people, 1.6, 1 or 2. So 20 was going to be 3-ish, and 30 was going to probably 4 or 5, and I might have to make a few extra calls. It's pretty easy to dial 15 dials in an hour, and we'll introduce you to some things that I used to use that are still out there. I like a little thing called Foam Burner because it would crank me up to 40, 45 dials in an hour. Just plow through them. But anyway, we'll show you some tips about conventions and all that stuff. Like whenever I was going to a convention, I'd buy leads in that area for 5 cents a piece and call them and set appointments and bring them to the convention, sneak them in. You know, you go in and out 4 or 5 times, and the guy at the door gets to know you, and then give you a badge to your guest, right? So anyway, all right. Anybody got any questions?
Hey, Mark, can you? I'm going to grab Amy. I get
Okay.
she's got kind of multiple lines going and some things, and I just want some clarification on that from you.
Okay. And then I'll be right with you, Kate.
Amy?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Amy.
I just want you to talk to Mark about these numbers a little bit.
Okay. I look at it, you want, okay, the Yorkie's yapping, hang on. Okay. You want two numbers, okay?
Yeah.
I gave you 100 and I gave you 200, okay? And then the next question you're asking is the number of 15,000 or 15 million presentations. That's 100 and 200. I presume we're not on the same wavelength.
We're talking about per day. How many so I'll make it really easy. How many dials are you going to make today?
I've never done this before, so I don't know. I mean, just based
Pick a number. Pick at 15 dials an hour. How many hours are you going to put in today on your dream?
Okay, let's put in 8 hours. So 8 times 15 is how much?
90.
Okay, so 100 is close.
Actually, it's 120. So
Okay.
let's go for 100 because you need a break. Dial for 50. Take a 10-minute break. Okay. I think that's very ambitious. Go for it. Don't be harsh on yourself. So what time is it where you currently live?
206.
2:06. Okay. So 8 hours is going to bring you until 10 o'clock at night. Let's go for 80 dial. Let's go for 75 dials. That's 5 hours of work. So you'll be done before 9. Okay.
Okay.
Right? Are you with me? And out of that, so 75 dials, and you're going to talk to 10 people. So 75 and 10. Those are good numbers. Okay?
Okay.
That's it. Solve the problem?
The
Yes?
$15 million means you're going for it totally.
It means you had a conversation with someone, whether they said yes or no. In other words, this is a mindset. When you talk to somebody, you understand if you talk to somebody and build a group with them that you're going to generate 20, 30, 40 million in volume over the next 10 years. And since companies pay about half of that back, that would generate 10, 15, 20 million dollars in commissions for you and your team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I mean by a $15 million presentation. So I make a $15 million presentation to you with a frame firelighter and most people, and you say, nah, I'm not interested in it. Well, I made a $15 million presentation. It's more for your mindset so that you understand the stakes that are on the table.
Okay, I got that one. I got that one. It's going all out, is what you're saying.
Just do your best. That's going all out to me. Don't do the best you can. That's what losers say. Winners do their best. Do your best, improve, and chart. How many dials did you make? How many people did you talk to? How many appointments did you set up to show your business to? That's what you need to figure out. And then what I can do on these calls is help people dramatically improve in any one of those 3 areas. Because we always fall down in one of the same 3 areas. One, you're talking to people, but they're not agreeing to look. So I know I need to work on step 1 with you. 2, you're talking to people, they're agreeing to look, but they don't show up for the appointment. I know exactly. I can go in like a surgeon and fix that one. 3, you're talking to people, they're showing up, but no one's enrolling. I know exactly what to do with that one. So if you'll keep what's known as a CAPS report, which you do off these calls, how many people did you contact? On one side of your index card, you're putting slash marks like this, right? You don't need any fancy spreadsheet, right? You know, the old 4 and 1, that's 5, 10, 15, there's 17 dials, right? This is dials on one side, and the other side is caps. And you can have this all for a week. How many people did you contact? How many did you set appointments with? How many presentations did you make? And how many sales did you make? Now, you'll notice on the sales, there's always a /. So sales might be 1 distributor, Distributor's always first, distributor, customer. So in this case, 3 contacts, 2 appointments, 2 presentations. And so I know I don't, what do I need to work on with this person? Well, I need him to make more contacts, because they're setting appointments and people are showing up and they're closing. I just got to get this person to increase the amount of calls. On the other hand, you might have something like this. Okay, 17 contacts, 2 appointments. Well, I know that there's a breakdown right here at HJ1, and I can fix that for anybody. That's what I do. Okay, got it?
Got it.
That's how we improve. Everybody write this down. We improve what we measure. If you're not going to measure it, I can't help you. And guess what? Nobody else can. It's a way of staying in denial. People say, I worked about 2 hours, made about, I don't know, 15, 20 dials. I'm going to fix that problem right away. Does it have to be NASA accurate? No, but it should be pretty accurate. It's not that hard. This is why this is all you need. I made somewhere in the vicinity of 20 to 30 millionaires with this index card, with one company alone. They earned over $1 million. Nothing to it. But it's because they measured what they were doing. Does that make sense? Okay. So she's good. Let me grab Kate. Okay. Kate. So next week we'll probably be into some role playing, or we might have time to do some today. Hi, Kate. How are you? Can you talk about if you use texting to get people to call you back or reach people? That has been a big thing with a couple of the gurus out there. It doesn't work. Okay.
What was that, Mark?
Can you talk about if you use text to get people to call you back or reach people? It doesn't work. Once you're in the process with them, there may be some texting, but initial contact to ask someone to pitch them, no. Just call them up. Of course the gurus are pitching that because it's easy. It doesn't get any results. This whole company went down that road with allegedly this guy who was successful in network marketing and had written a bestseller, and a guru was promoting him, and their volume dropped by over $15 million over the next 90 days. Everybody was texting. Doesn't work. Pick up the phone and call people. Some of them are going to answer the phone. Most of them aren't. Most of the ones that don't answer the phone aren't going to call you back. Don't pitch them when you leave your message. Don't look for, what should I say so they call me back? Say what you always say. I say the same thing all the time. Yo, it's Maki. Give me a call at your convenience. Give me my number, 508-801-4105. Always leave your digits slower. Be conscious of moving your upper lip. We all tend to rattle off our own phone number, and when somebody leaves me their phone number, it's a little easier today with this wonderful device. This does have some upsides, more downsides than upsides, but it does have some upsides. But we tend to rattle our number off so fast, and I'm going to tell them, one of those people, if I can't understand the number, I'm not going to rewind that message and listen to it. It's not going to do it because I think it's rude. So go nice and slow. A lot of times they'll say, hey, it's Mark. At your convenience, I'd love you to give me a call, 508-801-4105. Let me give you that to you nice and slow. 508-801. No. Let me give you. So anyway. Okay. All right. Kate didn't have a mic. Michael, they can be lists of distributors you have. They can be your list. They can be cold calls, or they can be a mix. Perfectly okay. A lot of times what I did, Michael, I found this company called Self-Serve Leads, and I would buy the 60-day-old leads. Those are the ones to buy. They're only a nickel. They're garbage. like all leads are online, but at a nickel, it doesn't hurt. Everybody says, oh, get these leads, they're hot prospects, they've been phone interviewed and all that stuff. They don't convert any better than the 5-cent leads, believe me. So, Michael, I'd buy them on the West Coast because I was raising the 2 kids, and sometimes I couldn't hit my numbers. I needed to call people after 9 o'clock at night, and I was in the Eastern time zone. So that's what I did. Per day, Larry. Per day. So if any of you want to rearrange your numbers, like here's a great set of numbers. Bruce Spencer is 30-3. In most likelihood, Bruce will hit the 3 before he gets to 30, but he keeps dialing. And if he wants to follow the advice of the greatest Salesforce builder in history, Mr. Stone, he will keep going and he will end on a victory. You got to hit both numbers, but if you end on a victory for a week, you'll get addicted to it, and your subconscious mind will be trained that every time you pick up the phone, you end up with at least one good appointment, and it's easier to keep going when you don't feel like it. We all have those. So Erica's down for 15-3, $15 million presentations. Now you guys got it, 30-6, good numbers. You're welcome, Danny. You can thank my wife for that. Toya, you need to raise that number, the front number. 10-3 isn't going to get it. It's probably going to be 15-20 to get 3. It's going to be about 1.6. There is a way to get everybody, yes, there is a way to get everybody to call you back. You just say, hello, this is Mr. Theo Felides from the Internal Revenue Service. Please call me at your earliest convenience, no later than 5 o'clock today. They'll call you back. Of course, you'll get in trouble, but you'll build your business. So you don't want to do that. Don't do that. Verna, I think it's great, but I want you to stretch yourself a little bit. Michael Paffa. Michael, good question. Aloha, Michael. How are you? Michael, I can hear you, man. Speak up. Michael Puffer, are you there, man?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So you had a question about, tell me what you mean by cold calls.
Well, I've been gathering business cards from different people, bulletin boards, and making calls to them. And I'm just wondering, I've had a couple of good calls, but what do you say on a call like that, on a completely cold call? How do you start that?
Well, first of all, we're going to do the virtual diamond mine next week, so do the virtual diamond mine. And calling people off bulletin boards, I used to do that, and Dave wanted to do it, and then she did it, and she didn't like it. But eventually she figured out how to do it because we'd be out, and as long as it was more than 2 cards, we'd take one, right?
Yeah.
So there's a few things. Let's use a little common sense here, okay? Are software engineers putting their cards on those boards?
Not so often.
Not so often. Okay, good answer. Okay, so people that are putting their cards on their boards are looking for what?
Looking for work.
More business, right?
Yeah.
Real estate brokers and so forth. So you want to use a rapport builder, and a really easy way to get them to call you back when you get an answering machine. So we're going to pretend we'll do this 2 ways. And first way, it's just an answering machine. So I'm going to get Michael, and I'm going to see he's with Century 21. I'll say, hey, this is Mark J. from Plum Island. And I came across your card. I was wondering, are you still in the real estate business? If you are, could you give me a call? 508, blah, blah, blah. So you put it out as a query. Are you still in the roofing business? Are you still in whatever? Of course, they're going to build an expectation that this is a potential client. So they're going to call you back, right?
Yeah.
the likelihood of them calling you back is better. We don't want to pitch them over the phone, and you can't leave the simple message like, I know you now, Michael, and I'd say, hey, Michael, it's Mark J. When you have a chance, bud, give me a call, 508. Leave your normal message with people that you know, right? Okay, so anyway, sorry to confuse it. Okay, so Michael, we'll say that you're a real estate broker with a real estate agent with Century 21. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Hey, hey, this is Mark J. I was trying to reach Michael Puffer. Is this Michael?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Michael, I came across your card. I see you're with Century 21. Here's the reason that I called. Let's face it, real estate slowed down a little bit. Nobody can really predict if and when it's going to turn around. Now, some people that are selling real estate have found a way to create a great second paycheck without giving up their real estate career. Now, most of the agents and sales reps I've talked to in real estate, once they hear that, they get a little curious, get a little excited, maybe a little bit of both, and they're willing to meet for 10 minutes for a quick coffee. But honestly, Michael, some of them don't. They're just skeptical of everything while they go down the drain in the real estate business. So you got time? Do you drink coffee? You got time for a 10-minute coffee?
Sure, why not?
That's what I do. I'm going to use their business. Yada, yada, yada has slowed down. Nobody can predict if and when it's going to turn around. Some people in that business have found a way to create a great second paycheck, and this is important, without giving up their real estate career, without giving up their plumbing career, without giving up their fencing career, without giving up their landscaping career, right? And every once in a while it says, I'd give this thing up in a heartbeat. Boom, you're home, right? You're going to have a very low hit rate there. They're going to say, who's this again? Right? But at least you're making that $15 million presentation. Does that help you?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And when we go through the virtual diamond mine, if you'll do that, you'll find the bridge is much shorter and much easier to navigate. It's not a cold call anymore, and it's not a warm call. It's right in between. My favorite. My favorite.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, Michael. Great job. Great job that you're doing that. I'll tell you a great story. West Newbury is a tiny little town, and so I was in West Newbury at a little grocerette over there. They don't have a grocery store. I picked some cards up off a board, and one of them was for maid service. So I call the guy up, and he says, and same thing, home service, it's slowed down a little bit. Nobody can predict if and when it's going to turn around. Yada, yada, yada. And, but some people, some of them do, some of them don't, yada, yada, yada. So he says, let me ask you a question. I said, sure. He said, you don't mind, do you? He said, you give me a straight answer? I said, yeah, I'll give you a straight answer. He said, how did you get my card? I said, I pulled it off a bulletin board in West Newbury. He said, unbelievable. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, I built my whole maid service by pulling cards off bulletin boards and calling people and saying, hey, I see you work for a living. I clean houses. So I met him at Dunkin' Donuts, and he came in the business that afternoon. So, there's some treasures in the trash. It's trash, but what a great way to sharpen the skills. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Thank you, Michael. What company are you with?
Market America.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Okay. All right. Yep, that's exactly right. Toya's right on the money. She says, I'd rather work on this per day basis because I need to improve consistency. Exactly. Those numbers are per day. There's a tremendous, tremendous book, probably the best book that you could ever read for personal growth. It's called Standing Tall. Shameless book plug. We're actually going to be running a second printing in 3 languages. It was kind of exciting for us. But it says in there, Toya and everybody, that now is all there ever was and all there ever will be. All that ever happens now. So Be consistent, one day at a time. Faye. I don't think Faye has a mic, as I recall. We'll see how good my memory is. B, C, D. Aloha, Faye. How are you? Do you have a mic?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay, then I must have another Faye. Faye
Oh, no, I
Pelt.
just got it.
Oh, congratulations. So you had a question about people listening in?
Yes, you were talking about that you need to be always training, and so that you have your team members listening in. So because you can only three-way, does that have to be on a Zoom call?
No, you can. There's a thing called freeconferencecall.com, and you can get a conference call number for free.
Okay.
And you can have people listen in. Just go through the menu because you want to. There's a way to shut off the chimes, or as my friend from Bernard from Switzerland used to say, the chimes. Okay, so that when people come in and off the call, prospects aren't hearing bing, bing, bing. Okay, you can shut off the chimes. Yeah, and then the Zoom call would just be, let's say we had called one of your suspects and converted them into a prospect, then we would do a Zoom. And what's really great about Zoom is you can record them. And what's really nice about recording the Zoom thing is that you can then go back and see what you did, what you might have done differently, where you lost them, or where they. You know, a lot of us think we can only learn from things that don't go well. You can learn an awful lot from things that go well. So I'm a big fan of Zoom. Big fan. It's because free for just a few amount of people.
So do you actually do calls with us?
Me personally? No.
No.
You do calls with your people.
Okay, yes.
We might have a calling session. Every once in a while I'll do one. Oh my God. Dave. Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Ray Halladay was just killed in a plane crash.
Are you joking?
No. My favorite player. My dog's name is Doc. I named it after him.
Sorry.
Okay. Say that again.
Where do you find the HJ skills? I put a question there about there was someone that wanted to get into the business, but he never did, but he gave me a bunch of numbers. Now, how do I start those numbers? I mean, those calls?
Yeah, okay. You asked two questions. The HJ skills, they're right here under Hero Journey skills in the members area.
Okay.
Got it? When you click on that, they'll open up, and everybody please remember that the downloads are on the bottom left. So these are the skills, and then below each video you'll also see my notes and outline. One will be in French and one will be in English. Does that make sense?
Okay.
That answer
Thank
that
you.
question? And somebody gave you some people that he thought you might want to contact?
Yes.
Right? So what was his name?
Evan.
Hey, Faye, it's Mark Januszewski. You don't know me, but Evan strongly suggested that I give you a call. That's what I used to say, and it worked really well. This works better. Hey, Faye, it's Mark J. You don't know me, but I was speaking with Evan, and after hearing what I had to say, he made me promise that I'd give you a call. So I'm keeping my promise to Evan. Do you have 2 minutes for a business call?
Well, that's good.
So when somebody gives you names, you say, Evan, Frank, Bob, Eric, I promise I will call them. So you can say with all sincerity to Faye, I promised, and I promised Evan I would call, or I promised Eric I would call. There's something about the word promise that adds fortitude to the referral. It's a referral lead. So that's how you do it. Got it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. What company are you with, Faye?
An adjunct.
Go for it. Okay. Instant messaging, no. Instant messaging to set up calls and all that stuff. You want to do it? Do 10 that way, do 10 the other way, and follow the money. They're going to instant message you back. About what? What are you going to do then? Just call them up. Pick up the damn phone. Okay? Pick it up. Not picking on you, Larry. I'm picking on all of us.
I want to tell you, I want to tell everybody, if you have this false fear of calling people, if you are projecting what you think they're going to say or how they're going to respond or they're going to reject you or whatever, whether it's subconscious, that's super normal, and it happens for a lot of people. So Mark usually tells everybody in Go 90 Grow that I would say if people had any common sense, which isn't very common, so if they did have any common sense, it completely flies out the window as soon as they join MLM. And it's really easy for us to say, listen, just get on the phone. But people, if you're not going to get on the phone, you're not going to grow your business. If you're not going to talk to people, you're not going to grow your business. And now, in this time, in our culture, we have such an advantage, such a huge advantage, because people have no idea how to start the conversation. Mark just gave you a beautiful opening to a person whose number you have and you don't know why, or you have this business card, and instead of lying to them and giving them some bullshit about it, your name came across my desk, you're actually going to tell the truth. You're actually going to start the conversation with the truth. And I'm telling you right now, 80% of the time, people are going to respond. But you'll never find out if you don't pick up the phone. I didn't want to pick up the phone either. And the only thing that stopped that was actually doing it. So, yeah, it's cliche and it's silly, but you got to feel the fear and do it anyway. If you really want to change your life, if you really want a new car or to pay your mortgage or to put your kids to school, if you really want it, you got to do the things that are hard.
Yeah, and then they get easy.
And then they get easy, which is the best part. Mark and I were talking about it this morning. I was terrified to pick up the phone. And at the end, when I finally got it, after trying these skills and using them, I couldn't wait to close people. I couldn't wait for them to give me that bullshit excuse because I was going to rip them to shreds. It was beautiful. I loved it. But the best part was that other person on the phone that I was helping that was in my downline, that was the hit. That I had the skills to be able to show that person who I signed up into my company how to do it.
Right.
That was the hit.
Right. Right. Hey, Beth, how are you? You there, Beth Black?
I am.
How are you? You had a question about Hero Journey 1 on cold calls. I didn't know if the other one covered that a little bit.
I think it got answered pretty well.
Okay.
I'm without words right now. I'm going back to square one and I'm relearning.
Yeah. One of the things is that because you have a group, there should be very few cold calls for you. What I would do, one of the things when you have a group and you really want to get it rolling again, is one of the great motifs in the hero's journey that you'll learn is there's 6 basic archetype of heroes, and one of them is the discoverer. So you're going to be the discoverer with some of the people in your Market America group that they're in the business, but they're not really that active. you know, there's an old saying, it's easier to give birth than raise the dead. I decided, you know what, so much of the stuff I was taught in this industry was well-intentioned, but not really always true. I'm going to go back to everybody. And I did once I discovered this, and I went back because guess what? The discoverer, right? There's the discoverer, loss and redemption, ascension hero, revenge hero, and so forth. So you're the discoverer. So I'm going to give you a call. I'm going to say, hey, Beth, it's Mark J. You got a couple minutes? And let's say you're in my group, and you're probably going to say, yeah, Mark, what's up? And say, well, listen, we've been doing this Market America business for a while, or this Zango business, or this, you know, Mary Kay, whatever group you're in, folks. But Beth's with Market America, so I'm going to use that as an example. Say, Beth, we've been doing this Market America business for a while, and, you know, I've had some success. But I got to tell you something, there's always been this nagging at me. There's always been this sort of ominous, semi-ominous kind of thing that something could be a lot better. And I'm not talking about with the company, I'm talking about with our performance. Beth, I want to tell you something. I've discovered something remarkable. And I was wondering if you'd be willing to have a 15-minute cup of coffee with me. Would it be okay if I dropped into your house and shared this discovery with you? What do you think you'd say if you were a distributor?
Absolutely. Come on over.
Probably. Right. And what I'm going to do is you're going to go through this hero journey, the beginning of it. I got one long 45-minute thing. You'll be able to condense it into about 6 or 7 minutes. And you share the hero's journey with them. Now, the reason that it works, Beth, is they've heard that story. They've been reading that story to their kids, seeing it in the movies. It is so familiar unconsciously to us, and you know this from the Master Keys. It is so familiar unconsciously. And it was read to you for as long as you've been on the planet. You've been hearing this story from the time you were 3 or 4 years old. And when you tell this to a new distributor and say, you know what? So what I found out is how to approach people and help them get what they really want. But where you really start the conversation is you go through HJ1 with your people. So say, let me give you an example. Beth, if I were to ask you, and I promise I'm not going to use your words against you, what you'd like a little bit more of and a little bit less of in your life, what do you think your response might be? Now, what you're doing is you're doing HJ1 on your distributors, and you get them to get off the nickel and dime stuff and get into the real, you know, okay, the bills are paid, you got the newer car, blah, blah, blah. What would your life look like? I mean, what do you really see yourself doing? Contributing in your community, traveling, moving, what? You know, and they tell you, guess what? You're really starting the process with them, only you don't have to close them because they're already in. Does that make sense? So the first thing I did when I discovered this, I went right back through my group. I resurrected about 15 people. Boom. The income jumped dramatically, and from there on, it was always easy sailing because I brought in people. But that's a great way. Now, when you do that, you're going to say, so we're going to start our business all over. And I now know what to do even better. And I'm going to be with you hands-on. So, and then you go through the 5 stories that the 5 short stories, very short. In the list building skill, you build a list with Beth. I'd build a list with you. Set up a time to make some calls, and now it's rejection-free. Everybody's saying yes. We got people showing up at meetings, coffee shops, living rooms, and so forth. And all of a sudden, you know, you've got a distributor who's back in the game because you guys have something a lot of companies don't have. You have a standardized system, okay? And you know, you're a $400 million company. There's no reason for them not to succeed. And this is an easy way to resurrect some of them. Does that make sense? Which means you should be making very few cold calls, if any at all. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. And when we do the virtual diamond mine, I think you'll find an easier way to break the ice with people, because that's what it's really all about. Does that help a little bit?
That helps tremendously. I really feel that's exactly where we are, and I'm so thrilled to be able to have some of those team members because we've already done some of that piece from your primary calls, and we have a team of people here listening to this, engaged in it, and now we're going to be able to do that. But that's one of the things I feel I always was missing. I honestly have never done three-way calls with people and had people listen in.
It's huge. It's huge because, and let me tell you something. I'll tell you a short story here to try to, today we usually go about 15 minutes over because I wrap a little bit in the beginning. So here's a great story. I am in my office, and I come out of the office, and Davine said, she says, you making calls? And I said, yeah, with a brand new rep. She said, how'd it go? I said, it was terrible. She said, what happened? And I said, well, it was just the worst. I said, we talked to 7 people. We made 7 calls. We talked to 7 people. And they were like, I'm so glad you called. My wife just got laid off. Every single one of them set an appointment. We're meeting with all of them in the next 2 days. They wanted to all meet right away. And she said, why is that bad? I said, because that's what that person is going to think it's like all the time. And it isn't, The great thing about having new people listen to you is threefold. One, they hear you get just as many answering machines and the same things that they run into. 2, they start to see, even though you're making great money like you are, Beth, the reason that you're making the great money isn't because you're like this superstar at network marketing. It's just because it's what Toya pointed out. You're just consistent. And the third thing that they don't even know you're teaching them is when they grow, guess what? Their new distributors will listen to them. And they'll do these calls, and they'll be 10, 15. I mean, we had times at Zango where there were 100, 125 people listening in. And sooner or later, they get sick of listening in and start making their own calls. Because all I do is maybe be on with you and say, okay, tonight we're calling Beth's people. And the main thing that I did was when I made calls and my people did the same thing because they were trained by me, not by telling them what to do, but just by demonstrating what to do. That's all you got to do. Is I didn't stop after every call and explain what happened. I just kept dialing because of what I was more interested in them was learning pace. Even if, you should make 15, you get into 20 dials in an hour with 17 answering machines out of 20. It's not that hard to get to 20 dials an hour. And all of a sudden, you've got a 33% increase in the amount of dials, which is a 33% increase in the hit rate, and a 33% increase in your check, but more importantly, a 33% increase in everybody's check in the same time frame. And that makes people happy. Does that make sense?
Totally. I love this. Love it. Love it.
You get it, right? You get it.
I get it, and I'm here for a very good reason.
Where do you guys live?
Right now, we live in the mountains of Northeast Georgia, but we are moving to Florida next year.
Okay.
Going back.
All right. Do you know where you're going in Florida?
Somewhere north central, but I know what the home looks like. Don't know exactly where it's located yet.
Perfect. So you're talking somewhere like Gainesville or something like that?
Yeah, Gainesville, Ocala area, probably somewhere within that.
Okay. Yeah, I got grandchildren in St. Augustine.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm planning on making a hit in Houston, where my brother lives, and then over to Orlando. So yeah, let's maybe we can do something down there for you
let
guys.
me know. We'll be there all winter.
Yeah, I can understand why. Thanks, Beth. Yeah, this is what's really interesting, folks. Beth is a national supervising coordinator. And I know what that means with that company. It means she's earned a minimum of $10,000, and actually you'd have to, the way they pay, at least $10,200 in a 4-week pay cycle. And here she is digging in. It's an example, and that's what's going to make her team get better because she's got it. Do you recommend buying leads even when, if non-local, while you are list building? my list has shrunk drastically. Let's see if we can get a Vaughn on here. K J H I. Whoop. Yeah, folks, stay on, jump off. You can catch them later. Vaughn, you are muted on your end, hon. If you want to unmute yourself.
Yep.
Hello. Yeah.
I'm
Hi.
here.
How are you?
Hello.
Aloha.
I'm good.
And where do you
Aloha.
live?
We live in
Where do you live?
Calgary, Alberta.
Okay. So, as far as buying leads goes, I would use Virtual Diamond Mind, and then 2 weeks. That's going to be on the 13th, and then on the 27th, Jimmy J's is going to show all of you a most remarkable way to build a network within a few months in your own hometown of a few hundred people that'll lead you to a few thousand. So if you're going to buy leads, where you want to go, and I'm only telling you this, I'm not recommending leads, okay? That's not what I'm saying. Whoops. Everybody sends me all this nonsense. It is, I believe it's self-serve leads. What's nice about this, there's no affiliate program, there's no sign-up fees or anything else like that, right? Sign me up, it's free, and whoops, you know, of course they try to sell you some training inside, which you don't need, but they're not aggressive about it. This is what I like. Aged telephone interviewed leads. This is what I would buy, 60 to 90 days old at a nickel a piece. And every time I came out of semi-retirement, you know, Dave and I would build one of these things for 12 to 18 months, and then I'd unplug for 6-7 months and start looking for another one while we were cashing checks from 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5, you know. I would always buy these leads to sharpen the saw, to get the rust off, okay? But the reason that I like them is, here's what happens when these lead companies tell you that they are exclusively for you or whatever. Trust me, it's not true. Most of them don't lie anymore, and they say they only sell them 3 times. But they put them in what's known as a shuffler. And so let's say you have a list of 100, 100, 100, and 100. Well, instead of selling those 4 lists 4 times, 3 times each, what they do is sell them all once, then they put them all together and shuffle them and sell them again and put them all together and shuffle them. No, it's okay. It's fine. So a lot of times I'd buy a list and I'd talk to 4 or 5 people that had never been called, and then 2 or 3 people that I've been called like 15 times. You're going to hear that stuff. They're junk. They're trash. But inside them are treasures in 3 levels. 1, you'll get better. 2, you'll learn pace. Okay? And 3, you're going to get damn better at these skills once you get people in, because you're not going to want to work these. Okay? So one of the things that I did, like I know, I just happen to know this about Market America. Beth has a convention in Southern Florida in the winter, like in February. She'll probably have one. They call it Leadership School or something like that. And then the summer in Greensboro. So I remember at Zango, we had a convention in Las Vegas. So I bought all the leads I could in Las Vegas, because you can buy them by area code. And of course, we called them, like I said earlier on the call, and then snuck people into the event. So, and we built a group in Las Vegas that ended up being one of our bigger leads off these. But I bought over 2,000 leads. It was nothing. Talking like, you know, so you can go in here. The nice thing is you can put like $20 or $10 on your debit card, right? And then you just tell them what you want, and they just subtract it, and they send them to you. Are you going to build your business this way? Unless you're like me and a complete savage, no. This is a lot of grinding. It's a lot of grinding. But I'm that kind of a guy. I would do it. So the reason I used to do every Sunday night, I used to call these leads. And the reason that you want to have something like this in your arsenal is if somebody joins your team and says, hey, I'm going to talk to people I know. Great. Here's another way to do it. If they don't want to do it either way, run with runners, walk with walkers, quit on quitters. If they don't want to make calls, tell them to sell their stuff and go home. Okay?
Right.
Because you're going to make them with them. I'm going to do all you're going to do, Harry, is introduce me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if someone well, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but so my husband Dave and I are doing this together. We're both in MKE as well. And so we would be calling those leads together then? And have one of us in.
Case, you guys could, because they don't need to know your husband and wife. You don't have to hide it from them, but they don't need to know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Definitely on step 3. It's awesome that you're a husband. I'd be on the phone. I'd say, Davine's on the phone with me. Just want to let you know Davine's on the phone with me. Yada yada yada. I'd get him to commit at HJ3. Yes, no, not maybe. We'd close. And I'd say, okay, here's what's going to happen. Davine is really the glue behind the organization. She's going to get you started. So we'll set up your first coaching call. And on that first coaching call, you build a list with them, and she'd teach them how to make 3-way calls. Because the one thing I hate is when I get on the phone with a new distributor. And because I want them calling from their number because we're calling their list. And the person's more likely they might recognize the number, right? Or might even pop up Davine, or might pop up Yvonne. Oh. So, and they'd hang up on me, and I'd get so pissed I'd throw the phone against the wall. I'd say so. Anyway, so she'd get on the phone with them, and she'd say, "Okay, you're talking to me. Here's the number you want to call," and she'd have them call a movie theater, right? Because it's just a recorded message. And they'd hang up on her, and then they'd try it again and again. So she'd have them practice that stuff, then give them back to me, and I'd get some people in, and then she'd get them started. And then eventually she became a stronger closer than me. So, why? Because she heard it 1,000 times. So it's a husband-wife thing is awesome. It's a good thing. Not easy to do. So I'm going to tell you
we might
how.
end up killing each other.
Yes. What color is your husband, Yvonne? Do you know?
He's a blue with an awful lot of white in there.
And what color are you?
I'm a super duper blue. He'll tell you I'm very controlling.
Yeah. So the two of you are trying to control each other emotionally. That's a nightmare. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the secret to a happy marriage if you work network marketing or any home-based business together. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Describe the street that you live on. How long is it to the end of the street?
We live on a loop.
Okay. So how long is it to get off the loop? Like a quarter of a mile, eighth of a mile?
Oh, what is that?
Yeah, quarter mile.
Quarter mile.
And then do you have another road that goes to like a main road?
Yep.
Okay, and how far is that?
Another quarter mile.
Okay, so is it Dave?
Yep.
Okay, so you and Dave, just like me, a blue Dave that tries to tell you they're not controlling by telling you that you're controlling, right? I live with one of those. But anyway, this is what you want to do. You and Dave need to make a solemn vow to each other. You need to do oaths and set a date with each other. But you guys really have to discipline yourself. When you get to that second, so you come off your little cul-de-sac or loop, and then you get up to the main road, right? Once you turn left or right, no more business. Okay? Really help each other. And no more business. Okay? Because this thing will eat you up. On the other hand, if you can contain it, you'll do better when you're working it and have the life beyond your dreams. Okay? So there is a time to shut it off, and it's not easy. But when you go out together, yeah, you like we have a little store, and that's now closed, and we have a light, and so it's both are about a mile from the house, and once we get there, that's it. No more anything, and just enjoy each other. Okay, That's the key, folks. Enjoy yourself. Thanks, Yvonne. Okay, so let's see if we got anything major. I think we got it all. Yeah, clutter and focus are huge challenges for me, says Toya. What type of recording system do you recommend for keeping? Just an index card, Toya. Don't make it complicated. That's it. You don't need, as far as a tracker for the person, this is what I use. It works better. And we'll have a thing, you know, I have my notes on the person in here. Once they become a prospect, I put them in here. So I would take, with business cards or a lead that I develop, I'm going to write it on an index card. So it might be Toya, right, and 508. Okay, great blue dress. Okay, all right. So I might have this, maybe I met Toya someplace. So I got her number, and on the back I'm going to write great blue dress, because I always try to find a way to compliment somebody that's sincere. Hey Toya, it's Mark J. I met you at that networking thing last week at the newspaper. You had on that beautiful blue dress. Boom, I'm in. Okay, so basically, you know, something about them, okay? Or you gave me that great quote from Kipling, right, or whatever. Okay, so once, Toya, they become a prospect, okay, I'm going to staple that card to an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, okay, and you can see this guy's been stapled. I'm going to staple that. And basically what I have, I'll show you how this works, and I'll get you guys a video on this, but I have a file cabinet, folding file cabinet, doesn't have to be fancy or expensive, and they're numbered 1 to 44. 1 to 44. Okay, Toya? And everybody, they're numbered 1 to 44. I'll find this video and get it for you. So if I'm talking to Toya, today's the 7th, and we set an appointment for the 9th, I'm going to put it in my appointment book. I write it down, because if it isn't written, it isn't true. I'll put an alarm in here, but what I'm going to do, Toya, is take your prospect sheet, and I'm going to put it in here on the 9th. And then I'm talking to Ken, okay, Ken P. And I set an appointment for him on the 9th for a different time. Put it in my book, put it in my iCal, and I'm going to drop him on the 9th. So the first 31 folders are 1 to 31. The next 12 are January, February, March, April, May, June, July, whatever. Okay, so you know, if it's something with taxes, maybe you drop it in March or February. Okay, maybe, you know, when Beth's at the, you know, Beth has her convention coming up, so she'd obviously have something in December to remind her to get ready, and she might make some notes and then move it ahead. So what I'm going to do when December rolls around, the beginning of December, I'll pull out the December calendar and I'll look at anything that I have there and drop it in the appropriate date that I want to make the call. So that's what I do. I write down on a piece of paper the date and whatever happened on that call for the individual. There's some great programs that I've used, Toya, when I was in direct sales, ACT and Gold Digger, 2 great programs for network marketing. It's like, you know, those kind of programs, they take more time to type it in. Additionally, when I hear someone typing in the background, my mind shut off. I don't think they're listening to me. So I'm going to use, you know, you're trying to kill a fly with a sledgehammer with those more complicated programs. And there's some great ones out there. Our business is just too fast for them. So I found paper works best. Index card or business card. I'll staple the index card to the business card to this. And I keep them in a pile. I don't have a written list. Why? Well, because if they're not interested, I'm throwing the thing away. Oh, this guy's not interested? I'm throwing it away. I don't want to open a list and see 11 failures. I only want to see possibilities. Now, what about someone like Beth Black? If I had prospected her and she's still happy at Market America, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll keep 3, no more than 3 in my tickler list and give her a call in 9 months. If I sense a little discontent, okay, it's going okay. You know, company's making some changes. Hey, how are those companies? We haven't talked in about 6 months. What's up? But basically 1 to 31, obviously 1 for each day of the month, January through December, and then 44 is all that other stuff you're going to get to, and you'll notice that one gets really fat. You never get to it, and you throw everything away every once in a while. So that's what I do. I just work with that, and I never miss an appointment. So I hope that helps. I'll get something up there. Okay. Yeah, I'll just address Larry as we wrap up here. Again, these are normally 90 minutes, but it's only me for 10. But next week it'll be a little longer. Me, I'm going to show you how to recruit at Christmas parties and at the Thanksgiving dinner table and all that, okay? And by the way, Yvonne, you said your list is shrinking. You're going to learn in here how to go back to all those people. We touched on a little bit with Beth. You're the discoverer, and you discovered something. So I'll give you that very quickly. I went back to everybody, and I said, hey, Harry, it's Mark J. Hey, man, you got 2 minutes for a quick business call? Yeah, what are you doing now? Well, look at Harry, here's the deal. As you know, for the last few years, I've looked at things online, I've looked at network marketing, I've looked at pyramid things, I've looked at Ponzi, I've looked at everything to find out what's real, what isn't. Do these things actually work? Is it just people that get in the beginning that make all the money? Are there really companies that want to partner with people at home? Harry, I got to tell you something. All my research has paid off. I've discovered something remarkable, and I would be remiss and irresponsible if I didn't get together with you for 10 minutes max for a coffee. Don't bring a check. Don't bring a credit card. I need to share this with you. Are you in or out for a coffee on me? And they'll all come back to the table, and you're going to go through the 10-minute coffee, boom, and you're going to build a massive team. So Larry says, I've been in sales for over 20 years. I'm having to relearn everything, it seems. I finally understand why I have failed to build a team for the last decade. Yeah, because you were the great company, Isogenics. Let me tell you something, okay? This whole idea of fear of loss and pain, yes, people will move away from pain faster than they'll move towards pleasure. But as soon as they're away from any pain at all, they're done. It won't sustain them, whereas pleasure and desire, that'll sustain them. And to learn how to recognize the goodness in people and help them improve versus invalidating their life and putting them in pain and pretending that you have the aspirin, it's a completely different way. You're going to feel so much better about it. Thanks for being here. If we didn't get to your question, I apologize. Yeah, that'd be fine. People you meet daily, that would count. Yeah, everybody's afraid of picking up the phone. Yeah. I'll dig that up for you. Those 44 folders to you. You'll get it. It's easy to go. And Dave and I actually went to an all-day training from Fred Pryor, great training company, and that's where I learned that. And it's been a walk in the park since. All right, peace. See you next week. Think and Grow Rich Saturday.